Am I on? I can't tell. Okay, I'm live. Is anybody even in here? Or it says there's 3 people here. So if you guys can hear me, let me know. I already did one live today with my carnivore guru, George, this morning, and it was hard. Oh, hi. Hi, I'm glad you showed up. I was like, I wonder if she's going to even see it because I just posted it. I just decided to do it because I did a live this morning, but it was with George, and he mentioned you, by the way, in that live. He asked about you, but we were talking about the carnivore diet, but we didn't really talk about, I wanted to talk about my journey as well, but this morning it was mainly, I was talking to George because he's actually a carnivore coach. And I wanted him to talk to everybody. So this morning it was mainly, for him to talk to everybody and to let them know what the carnivore diet's about. But okay, now I don't know what your name is. MPPKK7NJA. Hi. Oh, you're from Montana. Awesome. Oh, have you been editing all day, Diana? No, it was just a lot of other carnivores and carnivore coaches and stuff. It was nice, and I was just talking to them because I was reaching out because I need to get back on the carnivore bandwagon, as you know, I've told you, and I'm finding it difficult this time since I fell off to get back on it. I've been doing ketovore, but I want to do full carnivore, and I'm not getting there yet. It's taking me longer than it did the first time. The first time around, it was easy. You know what I mean? And I don't know if it was just my mindset at that time. Montana Prepper Paradise. Oh, okay. That's perfect. Montana, man, I've always wanted to visit there. Oh, hi. Is it Jana? I just subscribed to you, by the way. Yesterday, started reading you. So awesome. I love your site so far. I actually wanted to do a video on what your site is about at some point in time because I thought that was very interesting. But you're from Florida, huh? Another place I've never been to. I'd love to visit. I've been a lot of places, but I haven't been a lot of places down south. The farthest south I've been is Texas. Jana, like Jana Banana. Okay, perfect. Yeah, I'm Nana Banana, so I get that. But yeah, I mean, we've gone. I have been down to Texas, but I never got to go to any of the other southern states, the Carolinas or Tennessee, Louisiana, Florida. I've never gone down that far, but I lived on the East Coast. My father was in the military, so we lived in Philadelphia and Westchester, I think. You're on the west side of Glacier National Park. God, I bet it's just beautiful. I bet it's absolutely beautiful. Oh, you're in Austin? What's the weather like down there, Melody? Did you get affected by any of that recent ice and snow that I saw they were having back east? Your book is live on ebooks. That is exciting. Yeah, everybody, you need to go check that out. Diana's got several books out, but the latest one is Lonely in Truth, right? She also has Lonely in Love, and she also has a child's book out that I thought was really good, Jack's Backpack. But yeah, I know 32 now, not too bad. That's not too bad. Okay. I'd die. 32 degrees. That's freezing. It's actually so hot here. I was going to turn on the air conditioner, but then you wouldn't be able to hear me over the air conditioner. And I don't like it though. I'm not bragging because, it's January. Who wants to use the air conditioner in January? I want some weather. I like a change of seasons. It would give me an excuse to hibernate. Okay, you got it on audio and paper book. Oh, paperback is out February 14th. Oh, just in time for Valentine's. Awesome. Well, congratulations. I know you've worked really hard on that. And if it's as good as the first book, it's going to be great because I loved Lonely in Love. That was an awesome book. And she has a site as well. I think you can, I don't know if you can click on her name. I don't think it'll do that. But it was Cassandra's sister, and you can still find it by typing in Cassandra's sister, but it's Lonely in Truth now. Something like, yeah, and you can find it. But anyway, welcome you guys. Welcome everybody that's here tonight. If you're here, you probably tuned in because I wanted to talk about, the carnivore / ketovore diet. I don't know if any of you are familiar with it. That was what I did when I first started my YouTube channel. That's all I talked about. Hi, IB Wendy. Where are you from? And do you have an ASMR channel? I wish you guys could leave links to your channel so other people could visit you. But yeah, I wanted to talk about, getting healthy, especially after 60, because it's hi, there she is, Coach Juliet Edens. This lady's awesome. I'm going to do an interview with her soon too. But she's educated in it. I'm just going to speak about my personal experience. But if you really want to know more in depth, I would suggest you subscribe to her site. She has a YouTube site. Carpe Omnia After 60. Oh, I like that. Alberta, Canada. I know you get all the seasons. I'm so jealous. We don't. Yeah, we get two. Well, barely. Mainly summer. Lots of summer to the point where you get sick of it. When you are sick, it's easier to stay on a diet because you feel so much better. Yeah, I need to do something. I'm just having a really hard time getting back on it. But the thing is, and Diana, when I did the carnivore diet, I felt like $1 million. That was the best in 64 years. That was the best I've ever felt in my entire life. And I was so disappointed that I didn't find it till I was in my 60s. I wished I had found it when I was younger because it wasn't just a weight loss diet. The carnivore diet, this is how I explain it. The carnivore diet isn't just for losing weight. If you have weight to lose, yes, it will help you. But it's a health diet. It helps you regain your health. It adjusts everything, your blood sugars. It got rid of all over inflammation, pain. It just healed so many different things. But I also needed to lose weight as part of my healing, and it helped me do that as well. So, and I was totally anti-carnivore, totally, because I thought red meat was the cause of all these health issues. That's what we grew up believing, right? Because of the pyramid and all that stuff. North Idaho, God, another beautiful place. Hi, Linda from Blissful Acres. But yeah, so I was kind of afraid to do the carnivore diet at my age. I thought, oh no, I don't need my cholesterol to go up because isn't that what red meat does? I didn't know. I was so uneducated and I just, went by what I had always heard. But my God, you guys, like I said, I can only speak from my personal experience. And I'm the type of person, I think you have to find what works for you. And I've tried every diet under the sun. I always say that I've tried every diet. You name a diet, I have tried it, right? I'm 64 and I had lap band surgery. And none of those did for me what the carnivore diet did. None of them. It helped me. It helped kill my sugar cravings. It helped get rid of all my inflammation. I have no pain. I'm 64 and I wake up pain-free, which was a miracle in itself because before that, I had all kinds of joint pains and ache pains that I just associated with being older. And I thought, this is just the way it is. Tylenol is just going to be part of my morning ritual for the rest of my life. You've been maintaining keto low carb since 2015. Oh, I wish I could do that. That's so amazing. That's the goal. I wish, someday I'll be able to look back and say, I've been doing this for 10 years. I did get 9 months into it, which for me is a long time. I've never stuck with anything for 9 months. So I was really proud of myself. But then summer came and my granddaughter, she spends the summers with us. And it was an excuse, but I took her to Starbucks and Dairy Queen, and I didn't want to deprive myself. And I thought I was doing so well that I would be able to handle an occasional Starbucks or Dairy Queen. But it's a drug. Sugar's a drug, and I can't just have a little bit. Once I got back into it, I went head first, fully into it, and so now I feel like a drug addict that went back to doing heroin. I've got to go through the whole withdrawal thing again. I got to start all over. And thankfully, a lot of my friends on YouTube are doing the kicking the sugar habit this year. So I've got a lot of support. A lot of people are trying to get over, sugar. And that's what carnivore is about. No sugar, no seed oils, no plant foods. Let's see, it's just meat, butter, eggs. Some carnivores have coffee, some don't. That's one of those debatable things. Hi, SMH Cast. Hi, where are you from? But I'm if you consume, and you can correct me, Juliet, if I'm wrong. If you consume 70% or more of your calories in meat, you're a carnivore. So even if you eat other plant-based foods, you would still be considered a carnivore. Most carnivores don't, but some do. Some will eat, 70% of their calories in meat, and then they'll have some fruits and vegetables, not because they think they need it for their diet, but because they enjoy them, in moderation. So it's a personal thing. And that's another thing I like about carnivore is I didn't feel like anybody was judging me. The carnivore community is so kind. None of them, shamed me or judged me for doing things that I wasn't, sure about. Whereas, in other diet communities, they tell you, no, 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 you can't do this, you can't do that. It wasn't like that. I didn't even tell my husband I was eating carnivore for a full month. I thought it was crazy until month 2. And I was like, oh, I know, right? Oh my God. After I did it and I was on it for like a month or something, I wanted everybody to know. Before that, I was embarrassed. I was like, I can't tell anybody, especially like when you go out to eat and stuff like that and you're doing carnivore. But once I got into it and I started healing, because I healed a lot within like the first month of carnivore. I got rid of my pain right away, the inflammation, my leaky eye syndrome. I had a lot of little ailments, skin conditions. And once those started going and I started losing weight, I was like, oh my God, I got to tell the world. So I asked my family, they got sick of it. I told everybody, I wanted everybody to do the carnivore diet because I just thought it was just amazing. And it is amazing. And I do recommend it if you've never tried it, but you got to do what works for you. I don't force my beliefs on anybody. I'm just telling you from my experience, it was the best diet for me. It was the healthiest I ever felt. My numbers were good. See, I was really fearful. I thought, oh my God, my cholesterol is going to go up. My blood pressure is going to go up. My doctor's going to give me a bunch of crap. I was the healthiest I'd ever been. She was even amazed. She's like, what are you doing? And I was afraid to tell her, I'm doing carnivore, but she said, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. So I did. And, just doing ketovore. If you guys have ever done ketovore, your energy levels go through the roof. So you can imagine doing carnivore, So I was Wonder Woman in my 60s. I just thought it was the greatest thing. I had energy that I'd never had before. No more aches and pains. And prior to doing carnivore, I was very sick for a couple years, actually, very sick because of the lap band surgery. I don't absorb nutrients like most people, and I wasn't taking any supplements. And before I knew it, I got so depleted. My iron was down to 6.1 and I was bedridden. And my husband and my daughter thought I was dying. And they said I was pale and I was so weak. I finally went into the ER. And that's when they told me, you've got to do something. So I changed my diet. I started going online and doing research, and I found the carnivore diet. And obviously it's high in iron, which I desperately needed, because you know what my doctors told me to do? They didn't tell me to go on carnivore. They told me to eat iron fortified cereals. And it didn't work. I did it. I felt a little bit better. It brought my numbers up a little bit. But until I started eating red meat, It was just like an awakening. It was crazy how good it made me feel. And I used to get on my husband all the time because he loves his meat. And he's always been super healthy. My husband's a health nut. He's always been very healthy. But I just I just grew up believing meat was bad, especially red meat. I just did. But we all know now that the food pyramid that tells us that was bought and paid for by the big food companies and the pharmaceutical companies to keep us sick. Because all you got to do is look around. Everybody's overweight. Everybody's unhealthy. I don't know anybody that's in their 60s and 70s that doesn't take some kind of medication. And that was the whole goal, get everybody on medication. And but it's not like that in the carnivore community. Nobody takes, very few people. It cures diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. Just an amazing. You've considered carnivore, but I'm a small person afraid of. No, if you don't have weight to lose, you won't lose weight. If that's part of your healing, yes. But if you do carnivore just for other healing, it will heal these other issues. But you can consume as much as you need to. And in the beginning, I ate a lot. I ate a lot more than I do now because I needed to get full and be satiated so that I wouldn't reach for sugar. That's what it took me to kick my sugar habit. Every time I wanted something sweet, I would just grab meat. I had all the bad meats at the beginning. After I did carnivore for a while, I cleaned it up. But in the beginning, I was eating sausages and deli meats and cheeses, a lot of cheese. But it was okay because the whole point was to kick the sugar habit and the carb habit, which it did. And then I would say about 6 weeks into it, then I focused on cutting back because I was eating a lot just to curb those desires or whatever. So I cut back, and then that's when I started losing the weight. Let's see. I'm a lucky high iron cereal. Oh God. I love cold cereal. I could live off of cereal. Honestly, I loved it. I don't think you know what? Try it, but I don't think you will because I know a lot of people don't lose weight on it. If you don't have weight to lose, because it's also high fat. But if you have some other issues, other health issues, that's why I went on it. I didn't even go on it initially to lose weight. I went on it to heal. And that's what it did. It healed me from so many things. So many things. We crave sugar too when we're not getting enough protein, right? And this is high in protein and fat. And what's the other thing we were talking about? For your skin. What is it, Julia? There's a lot of something in meat that is helpful for our skin. I'm totally drawing a blank right now. And that's why a lot of us say the carnivore diet is the fountain of youth. Because most people, collagen, thank you. I'm getting tired. Yes, collagen. If you look at most people that have been on carnivore for any length of time, it like reverse ages them. And I started getting compliments on my skin. My skin got better and my hair started growing in because, I'm 64. My hair was thinning out. I had lost a lot of hair when I was sick. And so it started coming back in thicker and fuller and shinier. And my skin started getting better. I just started looking better. But at the beginning, the scale wasn't registering that I was losing weight. For a few months, it was just going so slow. And then one day I tried on this outfit that I had worn like a year before, and that same outfit. And that was in the picture that I used in my post, my community post for this morning's live. You'll see I had the same outfit on, and it was 6 months apart. And it literally hung on me, this outfit that I had worn that was tight. I couldn't even close. I had a kimono type shirt on, but I couldn't even close it. It was like this, but then I could do this. And it was because even though I only had lost 30 pounds at that point, my body composition changed. I had lost fat and gained muscle. You love red meat, but all meat. We have been taught too much meat. Well, I know, right? We have to retrain ourselves because we all grew up being taught that. So many, and you'll get that a lot if you're doing carnivore. People are like, "Oh, your cholesterol is going to go up and your blood pressure, and you need fruits and vegetables because you need fiber." Talk about the biggest myth ever. And I was scared about that. You do not need, I can tell you. Matter of fact, I have no problems in the bathroom. It was healthier than ever. I don't get constipated and I don't get diarrhea. I, TMI, but I have very healthy bowel movements probably for the first time in my life. And it's because of the fats and stuff. But we do not need fiber. That's another myth we've all been taught. Yes, and electrolytes are very important, especially when you first start the carnivore diet, because you guys have probably heard of the keto flu when you're doing like ketovore and stuff, because you flush all that out and you will go through a period of time where you feel like literally it feels like you got the flu. So it's very important, especially in the beginning, to make sure you get your electrolytes. And I did that. I did get the keto flu because I wasn't paying attention to that. But once I did that, I felt so in 2 days, I felt so much better. So yes, electrolytes are very important. And, that was another thing, drinking, because all I was drinking was water, I didn't want to drink too much tea because I used to drink tea. And I couldn't drink tea without sweetener. So I literally was just drinking water, and that got old real fast. But there's a lot of electrolytes you can buy online that flavor your water, and that helped a lot. So I highly recommend that. You buy flat iron steaks at Walmart, just enough for one. Yeah, right? You can buy cheap steaks. You don't have to buy expensive ones. Hi, Reiki Medium. Thank you for joining us. But yeah, my husband, he buys whatever on sale that week. Whatever meats are on sale. We eat all the meats, seafood, everything. And oh, Buzz, hi. Thank you for joining us. So yeah, and we buy because everybody is always, isn't the carnivore diet expensive? It doesn't have to be, Actually, for us, it's cheaper because we don't have any side dishes and we don't have any breads or cereals or pastas or rice or snacks. We just buy meat, some cheese, eggs. It was expensive there for a while when eggs were expensive, but now it's not so bad. And we both drink coffee, and I have heavy whipping cream in my coffee, and I'll add sweetened creamer, which you're not. Well, it's okay. Some people do, some people don't. It's debatable, but I do that. Your son is carnivore? My son, I need to get back. Keto, yes. Yeah, it is SMH cast. There's a recipe online. You can make your own electrolytes and save a ton because electrolytes are expensive, especially the ones I was buying. I won't name the brand, but a lot of carnivores use it. But it was really good. They really add a lot of flavor to your water. They even have one that's a hot chocolate, and I would use that as my dessert every night. I would have my cup of flavored electrolytes. Yeah, your grocery bill was cut in half after being a low carb. Another reason to do it, especially if you're over 60 and you're retiring and you want to cut back on groceries, I'll tell you, our grocery bill definitely is gone way down since we both do carnivore. It really does help. And you can find so many different things to make. It's up to you. Now, my husband's the cook in the family. Thank God. I'm not a cook, but tonight he made a carnivore stew that was out of this world. It was just a bunch of different meats. And then he chopped up some mushrooms, and oh my God, the flavor was amazing. I could have just gorged on it. And the flavors were incredible. I think he had sausage in there. He had bacon. He had some kind of pork. I'm not sure if he had steak. Oh, hi, Coach Angela. I'm glad to see you back. You know what? I need to do the intermittent fasting. I've done it. The most I've ever done it is, well, when you sleep, you fast, right? And I've tried to do it, but I always break it by having my coffee with heavy cream. I want to be able to do it for I stay up till 1 a.m. and usually most nights I'm up till 1 in the morning, and then I get up at 8. And the first thing I do is have my coffee. So that breaks my fast. I'd like to be able to wait until 10 or 11 at least. When are the coming videos going to happen? I eat 3/4 of a meal a day. I never fast. 3 to 4 meals a day? Do you really? See, that's another thing. Some people say they only eat once a day. Some people, I was like you. I ate 3 to 4 meals a day, but they're just smaller. I can't anyway because I've had the lap band surgery, so I eat tiny amounts. So I have to eat more. I eat throughout the day. Like I can buy a steak, and that's easily 4 or 5 meals for me. I cut it up into small pieces. I eat a lot of bacon. Cooking videos. Yeah, I know. You know what? I've talked to my husband about that because you guys know I want him to have his own channel. I did one video with my husband, and because he was cooking, and I said, you need to do a carnivore cooking channel because you would be amazing at that. So I'm going to keep pushing for him to do that because he loves to, that's his thing, is he loves to cook steaks and porks and all that stuff. But I'll tell him that you asked. That'll make him feel good. But yeah, in the beginning, like I said, I was eating the cheap meats. I was eating the deli meats and the sausage. And I know that's not the best, but it was filling, and it did help me curb my cravings. And after like 5 or 6 weeks, once I was healed from all these other ailments, it made it that much easier for me to follow it. You know what I mean? So then I cut back on the sausages, and I started eating more. I buy those cheap steaks from Aldi's. They have like a 3-pack of steak, and I think they're just sirloin. And my husband just doesn't get it because he buys porterhouse and stuff. When he goes, he buys really good steaks. But I told him I'm fine with those cheap little sirloins. I just fry it up in butter, and they're small, and I love them. I could live off of them. They're tender. I slice them up super thin and very rare. And they're probably my favorite thing to eat. And even cold, I like them as a snack. I like, snacking on leftover meats when he cooks, because he'll cook a bunch. He'll meal prep. Right? Do better once you know better. And more and more people are doing it. And they've got that Healing Humanity movie coming out. I cannot wait. It's a documentary where they talk to, I forget how many stories. How many stories are in there, Coach Juliet, of different carnivores that share their experience? All these people, because, you always hear people say, nobody's done carnivore for more than a couple months or whatever. That's not true. There's people that have been doing it their whole lives, but you just didn't hear about it until now that people can come out and talk about it. And I know people that have been doing it for a couple years right now. Okay, there's 4 main ones, plus Carrie Mann's story. Good night. And thank you for joining us. I know it's later everywhere else. Well, take care of your animals. How many animals you got? Because it's right here now. It's only 5:30 here in California, so I figured it's got to be much later everywhere else. But yeah, I just if anybody has any questions about doing carnivore, if you're interested, you've been doing it for 2 years, Coach Angela. See, I wanted to get there. I thought I would get there. I'm so ashamed. Rick, he was doing. I didn't know that. 42. There you go, guys. 42 years he's been doing carnivore. And like I said, every carnivore, every person I've met that's carnivore looks amazing, because of the collagen. I call it the fountain of youth. That it's so good for us more mature folks, not to mention increasing your energy, but, and you're not supposed to use a lot of like seasonings and stuff like that. Some people do, that's another thing with carnivore. It's a personal thing. The main thing is to eat 70% or more of your calories in meat and eggs. And then, it's just healthier. It's better for you if you can steer away from certain things. You mainly want to stay away from the seed oils and the sugars. Those are killers. And those are the things that cause all these other issues and people aren't aware of. They think just cutting back on fat will cure them. and they're still consuming, sugar and seed oils because they're in things that you don't even know. They sneak those babies in everything. Our food isn't food anymore. You guys know that. When you go to the grocery store, you read the back of the package, there's no food in the food, you know? So it's crazy how things have changed. And just by eating whole foods, single ingredient foods, you're just going to feel so much better. And I will do more videos on it. If you guys look into my older videos, that's pretty much all I talked about. Because at the beginning, I was just like high on carnivore. I wanted everybody to know about it. And that's all I talked about, ad nauseum, because I just thought it was the most amazing thing ever. How did I not discover this before now? I was 62 before I found it. And the only issue that I have with doing carnivore is when we go out to eat. So we literally don't go out to eat. But I know, there's some restaurants you can go and order, certain things, but I'm always afraid of them cooking it in seed oil. So my husband and I never go out to eat unless we're on vacation and it can't be helped. Plus, yeah, everything is so expensive. Yeah, right, Diana. Meat, it fills you. Meat is, because of the fat, it's filling. You don't crave these other things. And if you do, you can make fat bombs, which, I've talked about. I have videos on making fat bombs, and those really help. You just pop one of those in and it really helps you if you're getting hungry. But my problem was I was not only did I like a lot of sugar, I liked sweet things. Like I said, because of the lap band surgery, I can't eat big meals, so I'm a snacker. And so I eat snacky foods. You can't pronounce the word in the ingredients, then it's probably not good. Amen. Amen. Everything's bioengineered. Exactly. What is it? Frankenfood. That should scare us. And look at what's happening around us. You can see how it's affecting everybody. We all have that mind fog, which, oh my God, that was another thing. When I got through the mind fog and I was clear headed for the first time in years, that feels amazing. And, your mind gets all cluttered up with all that junk they put in the food. And it's affecting everybody. Even if they're not overweight, they're unhealthy. Like I said, in my age group, almost everybody I know is on medication for something. If it's not a sleep aid, it's for high cholesterol, it's for blood pressure, it's pain medications, anti-inflammatories, everybody. And then you take one medication and then you got to take another medication to combat the side effects from the first medication. And pretty soon you're taking 8 different things. It's nuts. So just being able to not be on any medications, being clear-headed, having energy, like I said, helping my skin. Because, as you lose weight, especially, like someone like me, I had a lot to lose. I was more concerned about the skin hanging. And I do have jowls and I do have this, and I know that's from losing weight. But I really think it would be a lot worse if I hadn't been doing carnivore. I really think that helped, because it's not like I do any crazy skin ritual. I wash my face and I wear some moisturizer. That's it, but I really noticed a difference when I was doing carnivore because I have dry patches and stuff. I have issues. And since I went off carnivore, they've come back. I have issues with it again. My skin was way better when I was doing just carnivore, and my energy was better. I sleep great. That's the nicest thing. I used to have such a hard time in the beginning. I still had a hard time. I could not sleep a straight, like 6 hours even. I would sleep for an hour and have to get up, constantly all night long. I could not get a nice restful night and wake up feeling refreshed. But once I started doing carnivore and it increased my energy, I would actually feel tired at night when I go to bed and I would sleep like a normal human being. And it felt amazing. And the best part, of course, was just not having any pain, because that's the biggest complaint I get from most of my friends and family that are my age is they have some sort of joint pain. And everybody just attributes it to, oh yeah, I'm getting old. I have arthritis. They haven't even been diagnosed. They're just assuming that's what it is. And it's like, could just be inflammation from your diet, the oxalates and almonds and stuff like that, and almond milk, which that was my favorite. I didn't use regular milk. I used almond milk because I'm so much healthier than you. And then I found out how bad almond milk was. And yeah, it was causing a lot of my inflammation. So I cut out the almond milk. I cut out the almonds, which were a main staple of my diet doing ketovore. But that's okay because I couldn't jump into carnivore head first, and nobody should, because you'll just bounce right back out. It's too hard. It's one of those things that they tell you it's best to ease yourself in. And I think maybe that's been my biggest problem is I want to go right back to it. And I forget, it took me like 6 weeks the first time to really go into it. And I got to keep reminding myself. And the rise of autism is chemicals in foods. Yes, yes. What did I tell you? I read 1 in 6 children are going to be diagnosed with autism because of their diet. Isn't that nuts? And I know it affects us as adults, so think about it. All just from eating crappy food, you guys. And I love food. I'm a foodie. And my husband's a wonderful cook. And we travel. So that's part of all that. The good life is good foods. I enjoy good food. So that was hard, and holidays and stuff. But I've found some healthy alternatives, things that I can have so I don't feel deprived, because I'm that type of person. I'm a big baby. I can't feel deprived. I can't watch everybody else eat yummy food and be real disciplined, because I'm not a disciplined person. I get sad. And hi Evie, thank you. And loose screw ranch, Kim, hi. It's good to see you again. But yeah, I'm a big baby. So, that's why I really enjoyed finding a diet that works for me. And that was the carnivore diet. I didn't count calories. You don't count anything. You just eat meat and eggs and butter. Think about it. Oops, that was a glitch on my end. So yeah, you just eat. Yeah, discipline. Yeah, none, and at the beginning, how most diets, they tell you, okay, you got to start moving more. You got to I can't do none of that. Don't tell me to do that, because how am I supposed to be moving more when I feel like crap? The last thing I feel like doing is moving. But when I did carnivore or ketovore, it gave me the energy to start moving more. So I say, change your diet first and then start moving. That's what worked for me. Many can't even have one cookie without then eating all the cookies for days. Yep, that's me. That's totally me. So, but, and this is another thing, I think it's debatable, but it worked for me because I did it for 9 months. I used stevia. Now, stevia is a plant, but still I was consuming 70% or more of my calories in meat. So I did use stevia, and it was like, whew, I think it saved me, because I would make certain things and I used stevia. I mean, it wasn't like all the time, but enough that I didn't feel deprived again. That was my biggest thing, is I cannot feel deprived or I will completely fall off. And whenever I needed, like at the holidays, I needed an alternative when everybody else is eating pumpkin pie, I made this really good, it was more ketovore than carnivore, pumpkin mousse with stevia. It was decadent. It was sweet. It was everything. And I was fine. Now I didn't need all the other stuff because I had that. So, you have to figure out, I think, what works for you. Ketovore, I've done keto. Ketovore is, more meat. It's what you do when you're going to transfer over to carnivore. You start off doing keto with a lot of meat, an emphasis on meat. But I tried to go back. Isn't it hard? I tell everybody that. The first time I did keto was awesome. It was super easy. I lost weight and stuff. But ever since then, it's always harder to go back on it. All of my diet is low carb, except an apple. I eat dairy too. Yeah, I eat dairy. Yeah, exactly, Coach Juliet. It's carnivore, but you eat occasional veggies and berries, you know. So, just you've been doing it since 2019. That's awesome. I like I said, I want to get to that point where I can say, yeah, I've been doing this for a couple years, not just a minute, you know. But like I said, I did it for 9 months, and to me that was huge, and I was super proud of myself for doing it for just 9 months, and I need to get back to that. So, new year, new me. I'm working on that. I'm going to work on doing that, and I'm going to, I got to give up sugar. That's first and foremost. Let's give up that drug, cut back on all the other stuff, and then I'll dive back in. Now, there's even something beyond carnivore, which is the lion's diet. I ate some cookies 2 days before Christmas and it made me sick. Did it really? I wish that would happen to me. I wish. You have an egg intolerance. Ah, yeah, I know a lot of people do. Yeah, that's hard because it is a main staple. Right. I don't know. Can you have like those how they have egg whites or fake ones? Would that affect you? Thank you. It is, right? 9 months is a great. I was really proud of myself for that. That's why I was so embarrassed. Intolerance is because of the egg whites. Really? See, I just learned something new. I didn't even know that. Didn't even know that. I can't eat egg whites. I have a rash. Oh my gosh. Yeah, see, and I don't like the egg whites. I like the yolks, and I was always told you can't eat the yolks. That's the bad part of the egg, and now I can. So, and sometimes I'll eat just the egg yolks, and I'll save the whites for my husband. But yeah, even after carnivore, if you really, really want to get into it, they've got the lion's diet, which my guru George, he does that where you eat raw steaks. I don't think I could do that. And I like my steak very rare, but it's got to be cooked. But he does it. He said the taste is good. It just doesn't appeal to me. But the people that do it claim they just feel extraordinary, just out of this world. You did carnivore for 6 months and gained weight. Did you really? I didn't know about the egg white issue. I want to try the lion diet. Well, you know what? I tell everybody I did a vegetarian. Yeah, I don't think I can do raw either. I did a vegetarian diet and I gained weight. I did, but I only did it for 6 months and no meat. It was when my husband first met me. I was vegetarian and I was doing it to lose weight and I was gaining weight because it wasn't filling. I was hungry all the time. So I would eat starchy things to fill me up, pastas and rice and stuff. So I ended up gaining weight. We call it BBBE, beef, butter, bacon, eggs. Yes. And you eat fish and yeah, see, and a lot of carnivores do, that's like I said, they don't shame you. The carnivore community, if you guys are going to do this, get into it. My grandfather raised his own cows. He said beef should be heated, not cooked. I agree. That's how I feel. But you can't have dairy. You're intolerant. See, there's another thing that probably would make it difficult. I don't know, Juliet. What would you do? What would you recommend for someone like that? If the beef roast is too raw, it's not even good looking to me. If it's still moving, I'm not eating it. I used to be that way. So I get it. I get it. But now I'm just the opposite, but I don't know if I could ever, like I said, do the raw. Yeah, that would be difficult because I like dairy. I like cheese. And the only thing is, if you have weight to lose, if you're not just doing this to heal, because a lot of people do it just to heal, but if you're doing it to lose weight, they recommend that you cut back on dairy anyway, especially cheese and stuff. Just use tallow or ghee instead for cooking. That's smart. So when I hit a plateau, I had to cut back on the cheese because I was eating cheese sticks and the little, what are they called? Baby Bell things. That's what I was snacking on. I was snacking on a lot of cheese. And once I cut that out or cut back, then the weight loss started happening. But my weight loss was slow for me. I needed to heal from a lot of things before I started losing weight. But once I did, man, and like I said, it didn't register on the scale right away, but everybody was telling me, I looked like I lost weight and I could see it in my clothes, but it was the body composition. I had lost the fat, but I gained muscle. So I looked different. I used to be able to put my mind to it and lose weight. There's right, girl, not since menopause, right? That made it so hard. The cheese goes immediately, right? If you're in a stall. Yeah, menopause affects us. I don't know about men, if they have to. Men can go on a diet and lose 50 pounds in a month. You hear about that all the time. It's so unfair. So unfair. But I know a lot of people that went on the carnivore diet, and they said they just weren't losing weight. They just weren't losing weight, and they really wanted to lose weight. And everybody was just like, be patient. And it just happens overnight. It may not happen right away, but once your body gets to that point, then it just starts coming off, and it's amazing. Yeah, me too. Although I didn't start full on menopause until I was in my late 50s. It took me, I was like, am I ever going to stop? I finally, yeah, I was there for a long time because, my sister, she started in her 30s, and I was like, when's this going to happen? And that was another thing that carnivore is good for. It really helps with menopause, with like hot flashes and stuff, because I don't have any issues with that kind of stuff. And I didn't have to take any hormones or anything. Yeah, you did. You got lucky. I know, because most people start it earlier. But like I said, out of all the diets I've done, and I just wanted to feel good. At my age, I didn't even care if I lost the weight. I mean, I wanted to, obviously, but I just wanted to feel good. I felt so bad for so long. And, as you're getting older and you're losing energy, I was like, is this it? Is this what I got to look forward to? It's just going to get worse. And so to regain that energy and that clear-headedness was such a miracle to me. People back in the day were all thin. All we had was butchers to buy our meat and the small, right? We didn't have all this Franken food and fast food and, sugar and everything. Exactly. Once that happened, they changed our food to make it highly addictive, and it is, and not filling. It's not filling at all. And then remember, was it back in the 80s with Susan Powter, fat makes you fat? And she, we went on, everything was no fat. My mom followed that thought. And, and then she found out later that that was false. Fat does not make you fat. Yep. Right there. I was right there, loose screw. Is it Kim? Can I call you Kim, or is it Miles? No energy, brain fog, and depression. That's where I was at. Yes, the first 4 ingredients. Exactly. And if, like you said, if you can't read it, you probably shouldn't be eating it. Okay, Kim, good. But that was, like I said, even if I had lost the weight, just having energy and a clear head. God, every day I was foggy headed. Every day. I hated it. And I think most people are. Most people are just getting through their days like, ugh. They just can't wait to go home and lay on the couch and eat some ice cream and start it all over the next day. Oh, really? From taking these supplements. I've heard of turmeric, 5-HTP, heard of that. Spiraling. Yeah, I did. I used to use that. And that did help me a little bit with the energy. Yeah, and that's the part I hated the most. It was not having energy. Isn't that the worst? That's the worst. When you just, because then you don't even want to do anything, let alone, like housework. I'm not even talking about that. I didn't want to go anywhere. I don't want to do anything. I got plunged right into menopause at 45 because oh yeah, you needed a hysterectomy. Couldn't take estrogen because of having hemiplegic, plegic migraines. So it's, oh wow, that sounds awful, awful. I'm so sorry. Oh yeah, I had gained a ton of weight. I know. And then because you're carrying around this extra weight, the last thing you feel like doing is moving, which is what you're supposed to do, right? But it's like, not only is it harder to move because you're heavier, it hurts to move, so it's like I needed to lose the weight first so that I would enjoy going walking, because everybody's like, go walking, go walking. You go walking when you're carrying extra weight, it hurts your knees and your hips. It sucks. My goal was to get off high BP meds, reverse type 2 diabetes, fix thyroid, severe depression. You're off all meds now. Not cheated is easy because I'm afraid to go back. Right. And see, that's the thing. Most people that do it are afraid to go off of it. Most smart people, not me, but most smart people don't want to go off it because you don't want to go back to feeling that way after and that's why I'm amazed at my own stupidity. It's like, why did I allow that to happen? Because I knew once I go off, I was going to go back to feeling that way again. And I did. My energy plummeted. The brain fog came back, trouble sleeping, my skin, all of it. My leaky eye, which sucks because I wear false eyelashes. You know how hard it is to put eyelashes on when your eye's just running constantly? It's a nightmare. So yeah, all of it came back. And, but now I'm slowly, I'm doing Ketovore, and I am starting to feel better. You guys saw I went walking. I'm walking again and stuff. So I'm on the right track, but I just want to get back to where I can say, yeah, I'm full on carnivore again, you guys, and help you guys and inspire people. But right now I need some encouragement and inspiration. That's why I'm so glad to have you guys here that are also doing it. Yeah, Kim, you know what? Everybody that does carnivore will tell you the same thing. It gets you off all your meds. I don't know any carnivores that take meds, and I know a lot of carnivores that were on meds. Everybody, after 50, you're on meds, right? And they'll all tell you the same thing. After being on carnivore for just a few months, you get off everything. So think about that too. As far as savings, it's going to save you money. You're going to cut back on medication costs. You're going to cut back on your grocery bill. Yeah, if you want to save money, this is carnivore's a great diet for that. I do miss potatoes. I like potatoes. I like starchy food, especially sweet potatoes. There we go. I got terrible internet. I was supposed to go in this week and upgrade it because I knew I was going to be doing a live, but nope, didn't get around to it. I've saved so much money when I was a carnivore. I know you do. I tell people are like, does it cost more because you're eating steak? And it's like, no, you're not eating anything else. Yeah. You want to explain that? Is it nightshades? Isn't that starchy vegetables? Am I right on that? Restart your internet thingy. I know. I'm going to have to go. It's downstairs. I need to, and I'm so far away from it, but I'm going to. I got deals on me. That's what we do. We look for deals on meat. My husband, goes through the papers and he's like, Aldi's has this and our grocery store has that. And we just get what's on sale and put it in the deep freeze. We were always stocked up on bacon. Bacon's my go-to. Bacon, when I start Ketovore, bacon's my go-to snack. I pop a couple pieces in the microwave. It's high fat. It's very satiating. And before, I would never touch bacon with the 10-foot pole. I thought bacon was the most evil thing you could eat. I thought that was the cause of every bad thing you could imagine. Bacon. It doesn't get any worse than that. And now here I am. I eat it like it's potato chips. Peppers, tomatoes, eggplant. Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. Look for yellow stickers on the meat at Walmart. I will. You're supposed to eat more red meat because it has a lot of iron, which I need anyway because I have issues with that. But I like chicken. I like poultry. As far as seafood, I'm expensive. I like crab and lobster and scallops. My husband will make fish, and I'm like, I don't like fish. And he tries to do all these different recipes. It's still fish. I don't like it. But he makes spatchcock chicken, which is out of this world. I love that. You poor thing, man. Yeah, it's going to make it difficult. you know, I've never had lamb. We had duck this year, and that was the most exotic thing I think I've ever had. We bought some for New Year's, or Christmas, my husband, and it was really good. I'd love to have more of that, but lamb. I know a lot of our friends from the UK, they eat lamb. My chiropractor said I need to eat red meat to keep. Yes, you do, to keep your iron levels up. When I go in to see him, if I'm feeling no energy, that's what happened to me. I was white. My lips were even white. I was bedridden. My iron levels were so low. My 28-year-old had a bad colitis attack last month. The GI specialist literally said, stop eating veggies, fruits, seeds, nuts, wheat. Wow. Yeah, that is shocking. She's 30 days old on carnivore. How's she doing then? That's crazy. Because doctors usually don't, I'm glad to see she found a doctor that agrees. Do you eat the skin on the chicken? Absolutely. Absolutely. And another thing that I eat, especially when I'm doing keto, is I eat avocado, which I love, and they're high in fat, but I don't eat as much when I'm doing full on carnivore. But right now I'm doing keto. So I'm eating avocado. About her healing, not suggesting carnivore cures everything, but my daughter is sticking to it I understand that, but that's great to hear. That is great to hear. And I heard that when we were talking about it this morning, when I was doing that live with George, that I forget who was saying that isn't it the seeds or the nuts that cause problems with gallbladder problems and kidney problems, kidney stones? Because a lot of people have to worry about that too as we get older. We have issues with that. You know how it is. We get older, we have issues with everything. But it all comes down to our diet. Our diet is the cause of all of these issues. And if you just eat the right diet, you're going to feel so much better. The oxalates, yeah, the oxalates. And like I said, I was consuming them handfuls. I love my roasted almonds and my almond milk and broccoli and spinach and all that stuff. Older equals falling apart. And, that's where I was at. And I was, because I had what I thought was a healthy diet. I was eating my iron fortified cereals with my almond milk. And I just didn't understand why I wasn't feeling any better. I knew what you meant. It's okay. But once I quit doing all that, I felt so much better. But like I said, I don't push it on anybody. I share my experience because, when I first started doing this, everybody wanted to debate me on why it's so bad, because there's a lot of people out there that disagree with it wholly. And okay, but don't knock it until you tried it. Don't, I can say I've tried the vegetarian diet and the vegan diet, and it did not work for me. I gave it 6 months. It's not like I tried it for a week. And then when I found carnivore, it made all the difference. It really did. Like I said, it healed me. It wasn't just a weight loss diet. It healed me. I had so many issues. I wrote them down somewhere because I wanted to keep track of everything that I noticed that was getting better. Because I felt like every day something new was better than it had been. And I was like, this is amazing. You were 64 when you found it? I like that mermaid energy. Well, I was 62, and I was angry. I was angry that I hadn't found it sooner, because I felt like I wasted years. I could have been feeling like this in my 20s and 30s. It's so unfair. But here we are. Right? Thank you. Yeah. I'm fine. Now I feel good. Now I'm healing. Um, I have energy. I actually feel like I could be around for another 20, 30 years, knock on wood. But, um, but even carnivores pass away. We've had, and everybody, as soon as a carnivore passes away, everybody blames it on their diet. You know what I mean? And it's like, no, you can have other health issues just because you're a carnivore. You can have genetic, you can be predisposed to heart issues and stuff and not be aware of it. And so, yeah, everybody just assumes, it had to be their diet. They don't talk about all these other carnivores that are doing it and are healthy and amazing. Yeah, no one questions that. Well, good, because I I haven't gone out to eat in a long time, but the last time we went out to eat, we went out with my son's family, and I whispered to, or no, the waitress whispered to me because she saw that I only ate the meat. I ordered like a burrito and I took everything off and I was just eating the meat. And she came over and she said, you can just order a bowl of meat. You don't have to, order it like that. I said, really? She says, yeah, so many people are doing keto today, so we cater to people. I said, I didn't know that. I was too embarrassed. Yeah, you know, I don't like to go out just because I worry about what they put in the food that we don't know and seed oils and stuff. Right? You don't get as hungry because what we're eating is filling. Like Dave Mack, he has a channel and he interviews carnivores and stuff, and he literally eats one meal a day. He eats a big meal, and so does some of these other carnivores, these big guys, and they eat a lot. They sit down and they eat a big meal, and they're done. They're full. Whereas, like I said, I have to eat small, but so I eat throughout the day, and I'm a snacky queen. But so I prefer small meals. But it's I need to get into that intermittent fasting where I stop eating after 5 o'clock at night. But I'm busy all day. All day I can go without eating because I'm doing stuff. But as soon as I sit down in the evening, it's like, what can I munch on? What can I snack on? And I would, grab some cheese or some bacon, stuff like that. And that's fine when you're doing carnivore or ketovore, but if you're trying to speed up weight loss, you're better off if you can not eat late at night like that. I have to eat a lot of protein because I've been doing. Oh, have you? I thought about doing that. I really do want to look into that. I'm just scared. Do you feel weak afterwards for a long time, or is it just a little bit? I like crunchy stuff too, right? Yeah. When I'm snacking, I like crunchy stuff. And like I said, I used stevia or the one um, electrolyte stuff that a powder that I would add to my drinks. They have a chocolate flavored one. I think it's called chocolate salt. It was like hot chocolate. And I would just, heat up my water, put a packet of that in there. Actually, I only used half a pack because the flavoring was so strong. And I was getting my electrolytes, and it was sweet, and it filled my cravings. I used it as my dessert every night. I would have that. Yes, the LMNT. And it's fabulous, but it's expensive. It's pricey, but you can make your own. There are recipes for that. Now, allulose. Now, what's that? I know that's another alternative sweetener, but is that the one that is got like 8 grams of carbs? Because there's one that I looked into trying and I was surprised at how many carbs it had. Although I know, you're not supposed to worry about that because pretty much if you're eating low carb or you're eating carnivore, meat has very few carbs. So it really doesn't matter. You're eating extremely low carb. I heard live. That's good too. I've made my own. Have you? Give me the recipe because I need to try it because I've seen it online before. I need to find it because I really do need to do that. I need to make my own because, yeah, the element's pricey. I like it, but yeah, if you're going to be doing this for any length of time, you want to save a little bit of money, and I'm always looking to save money as well. I would try that. You can make 120 a week donating Plaza? Dang. That's awesome. Allulose, no carbs. Oh, I didn't know that. Thank you. I will look into that. I didn't know that. Then I don't know what was I looking at? Because one of them, because there's different ones, monk fruit, maybe it was the monk fruit. One of them, I was just shocked. It was like, man, this got a lot of carbs in it. I'm just going to stick to stevia. But I'll look into that allulose. Is it good for baking and stuff? Because like I said, for like holidays, I like to have an alternative, so I'm not tempted by what everybody else is eating, the Christmas cookies and the pumpkin pie. So I make myself a keto alternative. Thank you. I would appreciate that. But yeah, I do. I need to find, a healthy alternative so that I don't. But another reason people do carnivore is, if you have issues with diabetes, it literally cures it. So I honestly, I just can't recommend it enough, you guys. It's been absolutely amazing. I have a couple friends that tried it and they couldn't do it. So they go around telling everybody, no, it's terrible. And it's like, you guys, you tried it for a week. Come on. You got to give it a little more time. And like I said, I've tried every diet. I even resorted to lap band surgery, and I could kick myself now because had I found the carnivore diet, I would have never done that, because the carnivore diet, I lost more on the carnivore diet than I did with the lap band surgery. And it just made me feel so good. Just eating the way, we're supposed to eat. And the high fat foods are so satiating. I need to make some fat bombs. And fat bombs, in case you don't know, you just melt or brown 2 sticks of butter. I use salted butter. I don't like the unsalted. I use 2 sticks of salted butter. I brown it. I fry up some bacon, probably about 6 to 8 pieces. I crumble it up and I put it in the bottom of a pan, like a cookie sheet or whatever. And then I pour the butter on top, and I add stevia because I like salty sweet. So I had a little bit of stevia, and I stick it in the fridge, and then I cut it up into little squares. And then when you are feeling hungry or you want a snack, I just pop one of those. And I go through, when I make a pan with 2 whole sticks of butter and that much bacon, I eat it in 2 to 3 days. So I pop a lot throughout the day. I go and I pop one in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening. And I lost weight. It actually helped me because I was at a stall and somebody said, you probably need more fat in your diet. I was like, how can I get more fat in my diet? Because at some point you lose your appetite. You really don't feel like eating that much. And so I didn't know how. And they said, make these fat bombs. So I did. And by eating more fat, eating more butter and bacon, it sped up my weight loss at that point. So then I started eating them regularly. And that helps with my skin. It helps with my dry skin issues. It helps you if you have any constipation problems, which I never do. Allulose is great for baking. Good to know. I will look into that. You know what else I need to look into? And I always forget, because this is my biggest issue, is the ice cream. Because I see recipes all the time. They say carnivore ice cream, it's the best. And I think I tried it, if I remember correctly, and it was really good. But I keep forgetting about it. I need to make that, because I was the Dairy Queen. I love my Dairy Queen. And I do miss that. So as long as I have these, like I said, I don't feel deprived. Now, some people can't use anything. They can't even use the sweeteners because it makes them want sugar. So you'll have to find out, experiment with that yourself. But for me, I didn't have any issues. I use stevia in my coffee and everything, and it didn't make me want more sugar. It actually made me happy, because I started feeling sad. I was getting to that point of the diet where I was feeling deprived. There, came a period of time. I was like, I'm feeling sad because, like I said, I'm a foodie and I want to enjoy my food too, and I felt like, is there any end in sight with this? Will I ever be able to go back and eat that stuff? And I realized, no, I won't. So I need to have an alternative. And that's when I resorted to using the sweeteners and stuff. And it brought back joy into my life. A little bit of sweetness. I need that. Some people are more disciplined. They're fine without it. I'm not one of those people. I need a little happiness. And that comes in the form of some sweets. And it helped me stick to it. It didn't take me off of it. I would have gone off of it altogether if I didn't find an alternative. I would have just gave in. Marie, I don't know who that is. I'll have to look into that. My son made sandwiches with cooked egg whites. You know what? I've seen people do that too. I want to try that. I like stevia too. The others make my arms and hands. Do they really? They make your arms and hands go numb? Well, that's interesting. I hadn't heard that. Wow. Yeah, there's supposed to be like that cloud bread and stuff that you can make. It's carnivore and it's made with cheese, like grated cheese and egg whites and stuff. And I think we did that once. We made pizza out of it. We browned it so it was crunchy, and that worked too. Yeah, you guys, like I said, if you're interested in doing the carnivore, you really need to subscribe to Coach Juliet and George Goodenough, and I think Coach Angela, if she's still in here. These are people that are actually educated in the carnivore diet and they can explain things deeper. I'm just telling you guys my experience. I lost 60 pounds. I gained my energy back. My hair started growing in. My skin got better. I lost the mental fog. I sleep better. I was happier. It helped me with my depression. These are things that it did for me. Good, Kim. I'm glad. Oh, the steak. I forgot about her. And Courtney Luna. I don't know who that is. I'll look into that. But yeah, the steak and butter gal, she would eat sticks of butter. And I was like, no, I can't even fathom that. But if I melt them and brown them. Hi, Anna. Good to see you. I don't do recipes. I prefer to keep it simple. Yeah, I love simplicity. Have healed. You're down 118 pounds. Dang, girl, that's awesome. Awesome. Yeah, see, everybody that's on it's like, oh, I've lost, 100. What is it? Bill Nye, he's lost 365 pounds in 2 years. Who was it? She was grandma's knitting corner or crochet corner. Barbara, her name's Barbara. She was in our live this morning and she's lost like 200 pounds this last year. Yeah, these people blow my mind. These are people that couldn't lose weight on any other diet. And then they found carnivore and it's like, because you're not going to starve. You do not go hungry on the carnivore. That's the nice thing. They tell you that when you're hungry, eat. Just go eat, but eat meat or steak, something like that. But don't go hungry. It's not like, okay, I ate all my calories for the day. I can't eat anything else. It's not like that with carnivore. If you're hungry, it's bedtime. You're like, my stomach's growling. I used to go cook up a sausage or I'd get some deli meat and put cream cheese and a pickle in it. That was when I was doing more keto. But then as I got into carnivore, I would, like I said, I would cook up steaks, slice them real thin and leave them in the fridge. And I would snack on, cold steak. And I never let myself get hungry. Health and wellness as well. Health and wellness as well. Age, but I have keto carnivore videos. Good. Yeah, just, because we're all interested in just feeling better, right? That's the bottom line. When we were younger, it was all about losing the weight and looking as good as we could, but when we're older, it's like, we don't care. We just want to feel good because after you've gone so long feeling like crap, you don't care what you look like. It's like, God, I just want to feel good. I want to, do things. I want to live my life while I have some life in me. And I needed a diet that would do that. And that's what carnivore did. It gave me my life back. So yeah, if you guys are interested in knowing more, if you look in my past videos, I have some that are labeled on, how I started it, to give you the ins and outs, just the basics. And then, I was doing weigh-ins. I would weigh myself because I don't weigh myself every day. That was one of my biggest problems. I weighed myself every day, and I had to stop doing that because I would go weeks without losing anything. And that was enough to throw me off the diet. It was like, forget it. And that, but like I said, people would tell me they could see I was losing weight, even though it wasn't registering on the scale. So yeah, you got to get out of weighing yourself. And I talk about all that kind of stuff. I managed to put weight on after getting, yeah, right. It happens, Anna. Finally got it out back in March, was scared I would be tempted. I was curious, I told my husband the same thing. I thought about having it removed, but the doctor said that sometimes having it removed can cause another set of issues. And that's all she said. And it scared me so, but I seriously would like to look into getting it removed. I've had it for 10 years now. Most clients I work with after we go through sugar detox, it takes about 6 weeks. Rarely choose carnivore, but rather keto or keto. Okay. And I appreciate you saying that. So yeah, you just have to start. Yes, weighing every day is so discouraging. Yeah, that got to be such a bummer. So I tried to cut back. Some people don't throw out their scale altogether, just use a tape measure. I couldn't do that. I ended up doing both. As an addict. But I got to where I was only weighing myself like, once every couple of weeks. That was a little bit better. But anyway, you guys, this is running on way longer than I thought. I was only going to do an hour, but thank you guys for joining me on this. I just wanted to, I get a lot of people that do ask about it because every once in a while I mention the carnivore, and when I get new people, they're like, what's the carnivore diet about? So I thought if anybody was interested, we could talk about it. But I am going to do some interviews soon with other carnivores. I want to do Coach Juliet, and I'm going to see if we can get Barbara. I just met her this morning, and I'm going to see if I can get her because she's lost over 200 and something pounds, and she's our age, and she just lost it this last year. Same here. I gained after having duodenal. Did you really lost 90 pounds the first year and then right? And I hear that over and over again, and you're ashamed to admit it, right? You don't want to tell anybody because you're so embarrassed. But then once I started researching it and found out that, yeah, most of us did, yeah, it's a bummer. I have to tell you, thank you for tonight. Well, thank you for joining us. Wait a minute. I missed your, let me go back up. I missed a comment here. Let's see if I can take it back up. Hold on. Don't leave yet. Thanks. It is, but I have to tell you, once you start healing, you feel so good, the weight loss becomes secondary. Absolutely. Just the healing is amazing in itself. And then the weight loss is a bonus. And that heals you even more because then, it helps you with your joints and exercise and all that good stuff. So thank you, ladies. I am so glad you guys all joined us. This was fun. And like I said, I'm going to do some interviews. So look for those and subscribe to all these wonderful people that were in the comments tonight because like I said, they all know far more than I do. I could just share my own personal journey. So with that, I'm going to say goodnight and hopefully I'll see you guys in the next video. Good night.